I watched the Borderlands movie, and it was a miserable experience on every level. But I want to tell you, I'm disappointed. I am so disappointed in this movie. Not because it was bad, but because it wasn't even worse. Because the only reason that I saw this movie was because it had a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, and now it has a 10%. You know, these kinds of movies only come once in a lifetime, movies that are allegedly this bad. Like, 0% on Rotten Tomatoes is like garbage pail, kids. You have to get movies, like, it is a certain gem, a certain a rare diamond of a film that can be that bad, that deserves a score that bad. So I went to see Borderlands, I was tricked into it, and I found out it was just generically awful and insufferable. And I was like, so there's nothing specially bad about this movie. It isn't even special as a bad movie. So I was morbidly disappointed on that level. I love movies that are just so bad it's good, and you just have to see, you have to come and see the train wreck. But with this movie, it wasn't even on that level. It was just long suffering with nothing special about it whatsoever. This will be memory hold forever. If this is the worst we've got in 2024, then I think we need to start doing better with our bad movies. But it's still bad. It's still awful. It was still a horrible experience. So let's get into this awful Borderlands movie. And once again, the reason why it caught my attention was because the score was so bad, and because they wouldn't even screen this to critics because they knew it was so bad. And now the CEOs are doing damage control, saying, please see the movie. We love the tone. We love all that. No, you don't. First of all, the tone was absolutely awful. And once again, insufferable is the word for this movie. But I'm like, you wouldn't even screen this film to critics. You knew how bad it was, and now you're trying to pretend that you're proud of this film. Maybe they didn't screen it to critics because they were hoping for a 0 or a 10% score, so that maybe people like me, hoping it was so bad it's good, would go see it. But it's just a bad film, but there was nothing specially bad. There was nothing interesting about it. It was just straight up bad movie. It kind of felt like a bad film you might get in the early 2000s of video game adaptions, and that is what it was. That is what it was. But just to give a little background, I have not played the Borderlands games. I only have a passing familiarity with them, so this is not going to be a review from a person who can really compare it to those games, except for one thing. The obvious elephant in the room, and I think that it was the first thing that doomed this movie from the beginning, is the castings. Now, I, as a person who hasn't even played the Borderlands games, knows that the main characters of this film are supposed to be young 20-somethings or even 30-somethings, right? At least that's how they look. They cast Kate Blanchett and Jamie Lee Curtis in these roles. They're two elderly women, and that is the first thing that makes this film so bad and so terrible to watch, is that Kate Blanchett is an older woman, and she is playing a character who's supposed to be like 23 years old. She's got skin tight, Hot Topic clothes and this blown out, cartoonish orange hair. And she's supposed to be playing like this 20-something tough bounty hunter. And Kate Blanchett is a master at her craft, but she does not fit in this role whatsoever. It's so awkward. It's like if your grandmother was trying to play a teenage girl. That's what it's like. And it's so awkward because it feels like she's just going through the motions of this role. Like she's doing the character that she knows she's supposed to portray, but it is a silk cap on a pig, so to speak, or maybe that's a bad analogy, but a square peg in a round hole or whatever. She just cannot play this role because no matter how good of an actress she is, she cannot fit herself in this role of this 20-something tough-talking bounty hunter. And so whenever Kate Blanchett is on the screen and she's talking, you're taken out of the film because it's just so awkward. Why was this person cast in this role? And the same thing with Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis feels like, I don't mean to rip on somebody for their age, but she feels like a grandmother who's trying to play with her younger kids because she's playing a role in it. It feels like she's acting, like she's not immersed in it at all. It feels like she's acting. She's clearly playing a character who is meant to be so much younger in a movie that's much more juvenile, with a lot of other characters who are supposed to be a lot more juvenile, and it doesn't fit, and it feels so awkward. And what's really strange about it is in this movie, Jamie Lee Curtis's character is supposed to be the one who took care of Kate Blanchett's character, Lilith, when she was a little girl. But I'm like, but you're the same age. Like, we see a flashback where she takes Lilith as a little girl when she's like, Jamie Lee Curtis is like in her 40s, at least how she's depicted with the makeup, and Lilith is a little girl. But I'm looking at them now with Kate Blanchett talking opposite Jamie Lee Curtis, and I'm like, but you guys are literally the same age. What is going on here? But once again, I can't stress enough, Kate Blanchett in this role is just so unfitting, and there's so much of her in the movie, and it is just so awkward because she just does not fit in this role, and it's probably the most baffling casting I've ever seen. Like, I don't even understand what they were going for with this. The other casting I would say is not good either. All of the characters in this movie are so obnoxious and unfitting in their roles. Like, Ariana Greenblatt is an actress that I think has a lot of potential going forward in the future, but I was kind of unimpressed with her in this movie because she's supposed to be playing a really crazy, charismatic character, and those roles, to be fair, are some of the hardest to play. But you could tell that she was trying to do that, but she wasn't getting there. It's like everybody in this movie doesn't feel fully immersed in their roles, and part of that could have been the casting. Another part of it could have been they knew they were on such a horrible production, and they knew that this would only be bad for their careers, so they didn't give it their all. Kevin Hart is Kevin Hart, as he always is, and I am so sick of that because Kevin Hart is in everything, and he's always just Kevin Hart, and he's not fitting for this character either, and it just becomes annoying at a certain point. There's just too much. Like, it's like Aquafina, a person with a very distinct personality who's just put in everything, and it just becomes so obnoxious and annoying. But the worst character in the entire movie was the robot. I don't know their name. I don't care care about their name. Every time they were on screen, the comedy that they tried to do with this character was so obnoxious and so obviously unfunny, but it was just relentless. Every time they brought this robot character on screen, my heart sank because I'm like, I don't want to deal with this in the movie. And the poop jokes that would come from this character and all of it, it was so awful. The thing about this movie is it's trying to kind of be gross and kind of be off the wall in the way that Guardians of the Galaxy and the Deadpool movies are, but it's still holding back, and it's still trying to be family friendly. And as we heard from behind the scenes, this was originally supposed to be rated R, and it became PG-13, and that makes total sense because it's like this movie wants to be raunchy and wants to be offensive, but it's not. Like, that was the surprising thing. Like, I thought this was going to be a super offensive movie when I went in to see it, but at the same time, it's trying to be so safe and juvenile, and I think that that's a big detriment to the film because I'm like, if you were going to go there, once again, 0% on Rotten Tomatoes or 10%, then go there, go all the way. And instead, they tried to get something out that's just so, that just plays it so safe, and you could tell that there was supposed to be a different movie here once upon a time. So, yeah, it's really an annoying fest, and they try to make it seem like there's heart in the movie and that the characters have a connection, except for it doesn't develop them at all. Lilith and Tina, they get like one scene together of bonding, and out of nowhere, all of a sudden, this hard-hearted bounty hunter is all of a sudden like this mother figure to her, and they have this special bond, and it's like you didn't earn that at all. So you've just got this by-the-numbers terrible movie with annoying characters, and here's the thing. There were multiple times in the movie where they tried to fake you out, like, this character's dead, and the characters in this movie were so obnoxious and annoying. I felt relief when a character would die, but they would be like, oh no, they're still alive, and it's like, I don't want to deal with these characters anymore because they're so annoying and insufferable throughout this entire film. So this is gonna be like $2 bargain basement bin movie. I am disappointed that I don't have anything special to say about it. I suppose the casting of these older ladies as these young Hot Topic dressed characters is the most surprisingly strange thing you can say about this film. But apart from that, it's just a straight up obnoxious movie that at the same time is trying to play it so safe because they don't want it to be R-rated. They wanted to get as many people as they could seeing this film. So yeah, I am disappointed in Borderlands for not being even worse. It was just a painful experience that wasn't even special as bad movies go. 0 out of 10. I wish I could be more excited about the things I have to say about this movie. The plot was all over the place. They would just word vomit exposition out to you for all this lore of this world, and you just you didn't care about any of it, and it was just gross and obnoxious. And yeah, not a recommend. Borderlands. Is it the worst movie of the year? Perhaps. Madam Web was more entertainingly bad on this scale. I wish that I could say something more interesting about it, but it is just straight up bad. It is straight up bad. I guess Borderlands fans will be disappointed in this. But yeah, it's not a good movie, not a good experience, and I just felt at the end of it that I was ripped off because I felt like there wasn't even anything interestingly bad about it, and I just wasted my time with it. But at least I got a review out of it. So thank you all for watching. Thank you, patrons, as always, for supporting this channel. If you want to see more reviews of bad movies and whatnot, be sure to like and subscribe and consider supporting me on Patreon. And I will see you guys next time.